bikies and tow trucks
go together like, I don't know, something violently illegal. The towie in this true crime tale is a chap named Nabil Hanouf. That's him there contemplating his imminent new life as a guest of His Majesty in a West Australian correctional facility.
They pee in a cup and throw it on you.
Up to that point, Nabil had been on top of the world because he thought he was onto a good earn, courtesy of the sale of 3 kilos of meth. He'd entered into that drug deal after previously moving 10 pounds of cannabis procured through a new, reliable and very experienced contact.
Yo, what is that, man?
What does it look like?
Nabil's mistake with the meth deal was buddying up with this guy. That's veteran Gypsy joker bikie Dean Adams. Dean is one of the most extensively surveilled people in Australia. Cops have been over this guy like white on rice for the best part of 3 decades. He can't drop his guts without being arrested.
That's it, you're under arrest!
First hit the headlines in 1999 when he was charged with running over a cop's foot. A year later, he was pepper sprayed after he and 3 other jokers went berserk at a Melbourne Cup event. 3 years after that, Dean was in Kalgoorlie en route back to Perth after a club run in Adelaide when he got into an argument with an off-duty cop around 2 a.m. at the Exchange Hotel. It's a well-known thing that nothing good happens at 2 a.m. outside the Exchange Hotel, and that was certainly the case on the 8th of January 2004 when Dean and 2 mates were charged with assault. It was around this time, 20 years ago, that Dean became something of a self-styled legal expert for bikies, started using the court system to fight the man.
like an Aaron Brockovich for the underworld.
Yeah, kind of like that.
I just went up there and performed sexual favours.
He lodged a complaint with the Equal Opportunity Commission over what bikies could wear in pubs and nightclubs. Dean was so passionate about the fact he couldn't wear his patch whilst drinking at his local, that was the Atfield Tavern in Maddington, that he broke the bikie code of silence to register his discontent, saying, "I am disgusted at the length government departments can go to in order to discriminate, while telling other members of the community that they should not discriminate." 2004 was a busy year for Dean. As well as fighting for truth and justice in the courts, he was going up against the Australian Taxation Office. As the treasurer of the Gypsy Jokers, he was tasked with proving that $72,995 in cash that was found at the gang's Maddington clubhouse was sourced legitimately.
There are more ways to return than you think.
The cops had seized the cash during a raid, and Dean really needed the money because he was about to mount a legal challenge to anti-fortification laws that police intended to use against the gang's HQ. Now this next bit kills me, and I am not making it up. He personally delivered the Joker's legal appeal to police headquarters, along with a key to the clubhouse.
Why the key?
So the cops could go through the front door rather than the more expensive way.
What did the police say about the appeal?
What do you think?
Denied!
The Jokers had been ordered to replace steel doors with hollow internal doors, but Dean was having none of it. He went to the Supreme Court arguing the Jokers needed secure doors to protect the Harley-Davidsons inside the clubhouse. Said, and I quote, "That's an expensive asset and we're not allowed to protect the asset." This was all happening around the time the Jokers were on trial for the firebombing of the Orabanda Inn. The pub was targeted after its owner, former CIB chief Don the Silver Fox Hancock, was suspected of shooting Gypsy joker Billy Grierson after an argument at the Outback pub in 2000. In August 2004, Jokers Graham Slater, Robert Stupar, Richard Samuels, Les Hoddy and associate Gary White were found not guilty of blowing up the pub, and their acquittal moved Dean to comment that "You can't get much fairer than being judged by 12 of your peers." Our man had another win of sorts shortly after that. Remember that seizure of 72 grand?
Yep.
The DPP offered to return half of it if Dean dropped his legal challenge to the confiscation.
And Dean said...
I've got it here somewhere. Dean said, "F*** you." In 2005, he successfully argued that bikies should be allowed to ride without helmets at the funeral of Gypsy Joker co-founder Les Hoddy, and he continued that winning streak a little while later when he was acquitted of bashing the cop outside the Exchange Hotel. He made good use of his freedom, helping create the Joker's annual Westdale Drags event near Beverley in the West Australian wheat belt, and he upped the stakes in the fight with police over that clubhouse anti-fortification order, taking it to the High Court, where his lawyers argued that the powers used by cops were unconstitutional.
It's the vibe of it.
He lost, and that clearly made Dean tetchy because in 2009 he was jailed for bashing someone at a nightclub in Gosnells.
What was the reason for the fight?
It was a nightclub in Gosnells. Doesn't need to be a reason. Old mate was still in the sights of police when he got out of the clink. In 2020, Adams was one of the first bikies arrested after a series of raids in the wake of the assassination of Nick Martin. Which finally brings us to 2022, when he and that tow truck driver conspired to sell 3 kilos of meth.
How did that turn out?
Not well, for 2 reasons. First, because there was no meth, and second, because the person pretending to sell it was an undercover cop.
Psych! Psych, psych, psych.
And Dean's now back inside, doing an 8-year stretch. I'm Ben Harvey.